So now that we have served the right of AI, let's have the same interest with much excited for content models and SEO. So thank you for this opportunity, and it's a pleasure to be here for today's discussion. That usually works behind the scenes but has an outsized impact on your SEO success through content models. So should I? So before we deep dive into the topic, here is the agenda for today's session, and the power of content models and SEO. In this session, we will explore how content models have transformed the way we write, organize and optimize content for both users and the search engines too. So as you see on the screen, here are some of the feedbacks that we have received from our stakeholders and customers. So have you ever opened a guide and felt completely lost? So I know most of them, we are writers, and obviously we should have also accept this scenario. That's what happens, right? So when there is no clear structure, and important topics, important topics get buried deep within the important topics get buried, and the users end up scrolling endlessly. And even when they find the related topics and jump into its related contents, and it becomes a frustrating experience, and that we have not connected, there is no easy way to connect the dots. And it also adds to that chaos and inconsistent formatting and terminology. It becomes a frustrating experience for both users and the writers. When the snippets aren't linked effectively, we lose the power of reuse, leading to more work and less impact. Search engines doesn't like it either. Poor structure or duplication across guides and make our content harder to find. So here is the solution. What is content models and why it matters? So think it of as a blueprint, a structured framework that defines how content should be organized, formatted and connected. It's not just because looking pretty, it ensures consistency and in tone, in structure, in how things are named. No more guessing it is prerequisites or requirements this time. So it enables modular writing, which is a fancy way of saying write once and reuse many times. Suddenly your install steps aren't copied and pasted 15 times across the guides. There is a single reusable block, cleaner, smarter and sanity preserving. A good content model also makes your life easier. It simplifies content maintenance. You fix one module and wow, it updates everywhere. It also less manual work, fewer errors and more time for coffee. From the user's point of view, it improves users' experience. They find what they need faster without slogging through a wall of text or 6 versions of same information. And here is the SEO. That is a cherry on the top. Search engines love that structure, and well-modeled doc set is easier to crawl, index and rank. So yes, your content model actually help more people find your content. So in short, a content model isn't just for content teams, it is for product teams and support teams, and most importantly, your users. It is the difference between the clarity and trust. With that, I'm handing over to Hasini to deep dive into content model structure and how we implemented it following the demo.
Thank you, thank you, Vaishnavi. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, we all have the feeling sometimes whenever we are reading the guide. So, some sections we see, we like, wow, that was really easy to follow. And sometimes it's just quite the opposite. It's like, where do I go? What am I doing here? What do I do after this? So, that's exactly where content model strategy comes in. So content models help us create documentation that's not just only informative, but also a clear structure, consistent, and also easier to navigate. So we have listed a few key elements here that we have personally utilized in our documentation. So before we jump into this slide, let's just think of, in an easy way, let's just think of content models as building a house. So whenever you start construction for a house, right, what is the first thing that you require? You need a blueprint. That's our OBB part. Then you search for permits. That's our supportability part. When you have the permits, then you look for raw materials. That's a prerequisite. So when you have all these things in place, what comes next? You look for construction plan. So that explains our workflow. And after that, we need tools to construct. That explains our configuration part. So yeah, we have all this. So then we monitor the progress using dashboards, and then the success metrics we take care of using the statistics part. So yeah, so let's just deep dive into each of these concepts. So the first part, overview. So overview should be like the foundation of any well-structured guide. So it should essentially answer 4 questions: the what's and why's, why does it matter, what is it do, and what does it contain. So like I have listed few key components here under overview section. So the first section, if you see, is high-level description. So this is like your elevator pitch. So the first 2 or 3 lines you put in your overview part, right? So that should explain exactly what the feature or solution is about. So again, making sure that it's simple, jargon-free, and also very focused, so it can help the user. And the second part is the business value. Why are we doing this? What is this feature or solution for? Does it reduce cost? Does it save time? Does it improve performance? So that should be highlighted there. And the third part is target audience. So as writers as right, knowing the kind of audience, right? It always helps us maintain the right tone and what level of detail we are giving. So that comes under that. And the fourth part is key capabilities. What do we include in this feature? So this can be like a sneak peek of what we cover after the overview section. So the second part after overview is supportability. So supportability can be like this pre-flight checklist. So before user jumps into the configuration, right? So they should be able to understand if their environment is compatible, or do they have the right kind of licenses, do they have the right devices for those details. So supportability should ensure that users don't stop somewhere in the middle. It should avoid any kind of surprises. So looking at the key sections of supportability, supported platforms and supported devices. So under this, we can mention any sort of software environments, hardware devices, so anything that you need to tell the user where this feature or solution can work on. So this kind of method basically, it avoids any kind of trial and error methods that comes afterwards, right? So that can cover that. And licenses. So what sort of access is required? So that can go in that part. And limitations. So let's be honest, like if something doesn't work out, it's always a best idea to call it out in the documentation. And best practices and guidelines, like so these can be like few tips that we can give the user so they can have a smooth navigation. And the next part here is prerequisites. So prerequisites, like we often forget about them, but these are like this unsung heroes of successful development. So yeah, so under prerequisites we have testing requirements. So System requirements can cover anything like your OS details, memory, CPU details, all those things. Software dependencies, again, like if you have any version or package requirements, so that can be covered here. User permission, so like who needs the access and what level of access they need, so those details can be covered there. Hardware specifications, so if there are any particular hardware requirements like card requirements based on your company needs, so that can go there. Network requirements, so if there are any port details, protocols or bandwidth permissions, so all those details should be covered under prerequisites. So these three sections, like you have done your prep work now, so you checked all your boxes. Now what comes next is the workflow and configuration section. So the workflow part, so this is where all the magic happens. So you can think of workflow as your GPS for implementation. So it shouldn't just tell the user where to go, but it should provide a step-by-step process. So also making sure that you are talking about the dead ends and also any wrong turns. So the first thing here listed in the workflow step-by-step process. So to explain the step-by-step process, right, we can take use of flowcharts, tables, simple diagrams, so anything that can help the user to show a better picture. So under this step-by-step processes, what we need to mainly focus on is what comes first, what comes next, and what comes after that. So that flow should be clearly defined here. So the second point here is user interaction. So if user needs to make any choices before jumping into the configuration, right? So that part should be covered here. Decision trees, again, like if there are any based on environments or use cases, right? If there are any decisions to be made, so that can also, we can highlight that in the workflow section. And right after workflow, once everything is set up, then user can jump into the configuration part. So configuration, again, all of us might have faced this, like we jump into the configuration part and sometimes it just frustrates us, you see. So config section should be like a guided tour, it should not be like a scavenger hunt. So under configuration, I have listed few best practices here, like use of numbered steps instead of paragraphs. Like nobody likes to, even us as writers, we don't, going back to our documentation, we don't look to like to read big chunks of paragraphs. So especially under config section, it's always a best idea to use numbered steps. The second one here is avoid tables within steps. Again, it's a best practice because it doesn't break the flow. Step after table and thing after the steps, it doesn't usually look good, so it also breaks the flow. And linked related topics. So like if you're dealing with big configuration steps and you have related information available, so it's always a better idea to bring those topics where user can feel it, have a smooth experience. And logical substations, as I said, no big paragraphs, it's not advisable. Field references and use visuals. So I'll cover the field references part in the demo. And use visuals again. So like instead of just telling them what to do using plain text, it's always the best practice. If you can, please provide visuals. Any sort of visuals, screenshots, GIFs, MP4s, infographics, whatever is feasible, right? So it's always a better idea to provide visuals. So now you have set up your feature, like everything is done, your prep work is done, it's great, up and running. So how do you know the feature is working the way it should be? So that's where dashboards and statistics come in. So yeah, so dashboards and statistics, they generally tell us about metrics, how to improve the feature. They have all the performance metrics and all those things. But where do we fit here? So usually, like any user, right? So they are, when we look at dashboards and statistics screens, they only understand if it is clearly written somewhere. So as layman, it might, sometimes it might not be possible to understand. So in documentation, right? So we can take care of few measures like clearly listing what each chart or visit or numbers, what do they mean, and what are users looking for, and also things like if something goes wrong, what can they do? So all those details. And so basically the crux of this is like, it should, clear the confusion that user has and also build his confidence. So yeah, we have seen all the key elements that help content model and that help basically help documentation too for the betterment of it. Now let's just go a little bit deeper into the graphics, right? So the importance of choosing the right graphics for your documentation. So we all might have heard of this phrase, right? Picture is worth 1,000 words, but I'll tell you in documentation that one right picture is worth even more. So yeah, like if you could see on the screen, we have listed different types of graphic types here, when to use them and few best practices. Like you can use architecture diagrams when you have to explain a system layout, and flow charts when you have to explain a process, and any sorts of screenshots with steps and normal case and videos too, when you have to walk through the UI steps and all. So here are a few examples from our own documentation. So the first two images, if you could see here, there's a clear difference between them. So the first one talks a storyline. So it talks about various elements, like this is a example from a guide called UCBC solution. So it highlights different components of that. So when it's talking about the story, we have given a clear, simple architecture diagram. Whereas when you see the second one, there's a flow here. So it's talking about traffic tapping in Kubernetes using Gigamon. So the flow starts with how traffic is handled from Kubernetes pods, how it's moving to EC2 solution, and after that how it's getting moved to the tools basically, not into. So when this kind of flow is required, right? So this kind of visuals, instead of reading the steps, this kind of providing visuals, it always helps the user to understand the flow better. The last one. So the last image here, this is infographics. So basically, we use infographics to summarize content. So when you have, like, this particular again is the user solution, right? So, this is very interesting topic, and it will be useful if I have a quick demo for this, so you can see that. So two more examples for graphics. So the first image you see here again. So this talks about different deployment options for a particular AWS guide and traffic based on traffic acquisition method. So you have three types of acquisition methods listed here. So just a glance at this image, right? The instant feeling is, okay, there's a lot of information, something is happening here. So instead of just explaining it in each acquisition method in different paragraphs, of course we do that. But again, providing this kind of a flow to the user where he needs to go to traffic mirroring acquisition method. So the options are right available here. So yeah, that's the importance of flowchart. It just simplifies the process. So the last screenshot here is screenshots with sequential steps. Again, one glance at this UI screen, we have listing numbers. You can see that a lot is going on here. Again, we'll be listing down steps. But as a user, even now, you can clearly understand that he needs to go to inventory first, then go to fabric, and the process goes on. So just one glance, even without reading the steps, users can easily find out the flow. So that's the importance of graphics in documentation. So yeah, so the next topic here is snippets. Snippets are like this reusable content block. So often this is a very small topic with a very big impact. So it gets missed sometimes often. So let's say you have multiple guides, and across guides you have some information common. So my case, I'm just taking an example. I have 80% of information common across 4 guides. The 20% is where I need to tweak it. So I'll just quickly explain this with an example. So the first image you see here, the first paragraph and the first step here is where my 80% of content is common. But the second line, right, is without a from orchestration. This is where I need my 20% of speaking in. So how do I start the snippet work? So as I said, let's just take example of 4 guides. So 4 guides, I create individual topics, pull the snippet in that file. So yeah, 80% of content is appearing common in my guide. But again, so this particular thing you see here, so this is where my 20% needs to be modified. So the need for me here is this refer to install UCTV topic is different for 4 different guides. So I need an output. So I don't want to confuse the users with multiple links here in the output. So what I do is I use conditionalizing here inside the snippet. So when I'm conditionalizing these 4 links for those 4 guides, this is how the output appears. So if you see on the second step here, you can only see I have 4 different links there, but the output here is refer to install UCTV. So let's just say this is my guide 1. So I have the link only for guide 1 here. So that's the importance of using conditionalizing inside snippets. So the next topic here is relationship tables. So like we often have this feeling like when we are reading through a topic, right? Somewhere suddenly we remember that, oh, yesterday I had read something about this. Now I don't know where to look at it. I forgot about it. So that's exactly where this concept comes from. So relationship is nothing but you have a topic and you also have few related topics to it. So you club them. So you bring them to a common page. So I have this topic and I have listed few links here. So these links can generally include anything. You have a concept topic, you can list in configuration there, you can bring your prerequisites there, you can bring your supportability there, dashboard, statistics, anything basically. So like anything to make the navigation better. So every time you don't jump back into the TOC, you come back to your topic. So this process we eliminate completely. So yeah, so we have done all this talking now. So like in the interest of time, we foresee some technical challenges. So this is a pre-recorded video with voice. So I'll quickly show.
Hello all. Have you ever opened a product guide and thought, where do I even begin? That's exactly the problem we set out to solve with content models. Today, I'll be walking you through a comparison between 2 versions of our Universal Cloud Tab Container Release Guides. Specifically, we'll look at a version 6.11 where we have introduced content models to improve structure and usability. So in the earlier version here for 6.8, if you see the TOC structure here, this lacked a clear workflow. Users were left unsure about where to begin, how to configure, and how to deploy the UCTC solution. There was no guided path here, which made navigation and comprehension very difficult. So in contrast, in our updated version here, we have introduced a well-defined structure. So it starts with an overview part, followed by planning, followed by prerequisites, configuration, deployment, and troubleshooting sections. So this kind of logical flow helps users understand not just what to do, but also when to do it. So let's just deep dive into different sections we have discussed today for content models. So first section here is the overview part. So under overview, if you could see here, we have listed 2 types of architectural diagrams. So the first one without steps explaining the conceptual flows or storylines. So the second one here with steps to illustrate the configuration process. So each diagram here is followed by a deep breakdown of the steps, helping users understand the what, why, and when to use the feature. And of course, without overwhelming them with the how-to part, which is covered later. So our next section for discussion here is supportability. So in supportability section, as you can see here, we have included a comprehensive table listing different sections such as supported platforms, compatible devices, GS cards, required licenses. So this is like a single sourcing of information where users can find anything that relates to supportability and also quickly verify what is compatible before proceeding. So one more example I'll show you here, which is more over a feature overview. So for this particular feature here, prescription supported platforms are clearly listed here right within the overview part. So user can have a well before information of what are all the supported platforms before he jump into the configuration or deployment part. So the next discussion topic here is prerequisites. So before users even begin configuration, right? So we have outlined all the necessary prerequisites. So each of these links here direct users to different sections like licensing requirements, user roles and permissions, external integrations and all any other resources needs. So this ensures users are fully prepared before diving into the setup. So next major topic for discussion here is workflow topic and the deployment part. So in this particular example here that I'm showing, we have included a high level visual of all the deployment options for traffic acquisition method. So this kind of a diagram helps users grab the overall process and choose the right path. So each of these methods here are again linked directly, making the navigation seamless. So these links will take them directly to this particular type of method we are describing here. So again, based on the requirement, we also list topics in a sequential order so users can know exactly where to start and how to proceed with the deployment. So our next topic for discussion is the configuration part. So using content model strategy, we have followed few best practices here, such as using numbered steps with simple direct language, avoiding tables within steps, and also breaking content into small logical subsections. So when UI references exceed more than 9 elements, right? So we move them to a dedicated field reference table as I'm showing here. So and link this table to the relevant steps wherever required above. So this kind of approach, it avoids cluttering the procedure with inline tables and helps maintain a clear and user-friendly flow. We also include contextual links to related topics like this. If you can see here, there are all different kind of links available here. So these kind of linking will help improve navigation and also enhance the user experience. So our next topic here is dashboards part. So in dashboard section, we explain how to access and interpret key metrics. So we have also added real use case examples and troubleshooting scenarios to make the content more relatable. So to further enhance the user experience, we have embedded videos here for each use case. So let's look into this.
So where's the bottleneck? Today, I'll show you how Gigamon provides.
So these kind of videos, they help make the process a bit more easier for users to follow along the process. Let's take a look at the graphics and visuals. So in our documentation, we have used a variety of visuals to reduce the cognitive workload. So the one you're seeing right here is the infographic. So we have used infographics to summarize the entire solution process on a single page. So these visuals, they clearly highlight the key sections like planning, what are all the prerequisites required, and also how to deploy the solution. So it kind of makes it easier for user to grasp the overall process at a single glance. So this also takes it directly to the particular section. So it adds more enhancement and also makes it easier for the user to follow. So in other sections like where there's significant UI involvement such as configuration procedures. So here if you can see, we have incorporated GIFs and MP4 videos to visually demonstrate the feature behavior and also provide a step-by-step walkthroughs. So and one more use case, like if in case the relevant videos are available already, such as maybe in our company's case, such as Tech Hub tutorials. So if those kind of videos are available, we embed them directly here within the concept topics to enhance the understanding and also provide a visual context. So let me just play it here.
Hi, I'm Yarani Rajesh and I'm going to walk you through Gigamon Glimpse, which is an application metadata event.
So these kind of visuals, they help users absorb information faster and also more effectively. So our next topic for discussion here is what to do next topic. So of course we have all the procedural topics listed here. So one best practice that we do here at Gigamon is at the end of each topic, right? We provide a what to do next section, which direct the user to the next logical step. So this eliminates the need to return to the TOC topics and keep users moving forward smoothly. So yeah, if you can see, we have also provided links here which will take them directly to the relevant topics. So our last section for discussion today here is the implementation of relationship tables. So we have incorporated this relationship tables that kind of group the related concepts, the configuration topics, and the references on the same page. So this is your main topic, and all the relevant topics related to this particular topics are right available here in this particular page. So this kind of reduces the need to jump back and forth between sections and also saves users time and effort. So this is my main topic, and just one click here, it will take me directly to the relevant topic. So by applying all these content model strategies, we have significantly improved both user experience and also SEO performance. So our documentation is now more discoverable, easier to navigate, and also more helpful to users at every stage of their journey. So with all these improvements, content models has helped us create documentation that guides, supports, and also empowers. So to conclude, content models aren't just about organizing information, they're also about understanding the user journey. Thank you all for your time, and we look forward to hear your questions and feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, to conclude,
Hello
that
all.
is a problem. So, in previous releases, right, we had all the information available. So whatever the SMEs or customers are asking, that was there, but it was very deep inside. Even it was legacy content, it is not being touched before. So that's where content models has helped us. So all these key topics that I have explained here, using all these, we have restructured our documentation completely. So it's an ongoing process. We're doing it time by time, but we have received very good and massive feedback after we have implemented this. So yeah, that's the crux of content models. And so moving forward, Vaishnavi will explain how content models has helped us achieve real results, especially in case of SEO.
So thank you, Hasini. It was very interesting to learn more about the problems that we have faced in our documents and how we implemented and achieved it. So with the interest of time, I know it's lunch, so just quickly we will finish it to the last final topic. As you see in this picture, this is our analytics data, and yes, with no surprise, user hits the search page the most. They are not clicking, they are not browsing, they are searching. So in fact, 68% of online begins with search engine according to the Bright Edge. So if your content does not play well with search engines, it's practically invisible. The good news, organic search isn't just traffic driver, it's a long-term investment. Unlike paid ads, you're not renting visibility, and you are earning it. And this is where content models come in. Search engines love that structure. They reward semantic, well-organized content, and the contents help deliver through consistency in clear patterns in headings, layouts, and terminology, meta mapping, so machines and users know what's what, schema markup, adding meaning to your content, not just formatting, scalability, making it easier to apply best practices across thousands of pages. A quick tip, don't just stuff keywords. We have all seen that a sad paragraph at the bottom that says this guide is about configuration and during configuration. Instead, use headings Instead, use real language, use headings and field names that align with how people actually search. For example, how to configure XYZ, not configuration manual ABC. And one makes Google smile, the other makes user sign. So with that result, higher search rankings, better user experience, and increased organic traffic. And finally, win, win, win. So with that, I conclude and take a minute. So let's bring them all together, and at the heart of content, great content and a great SEO, it's a structured framework. And content model defines how it is organized, linked and displayed. That's the structure and derives consistency across your docs, enable reusability, so that you don't write the same thing 10 times. So simplifies maintenance for fewer errors creeping. Boost user engagement with clean navigation and readable layouts. And of course, SEO, because structure isn't just for humans, it's for search engines too. So whether you are reworking for fewer pages or scaling an entire doc portal, build with structure, write with clarity, and think like a search engine and a user. That's the power of integrating with SEO. Smart content isn't just readable, it's findable. With that, I conclude the today's session for Q&A.
Thank you for the wonderful session. All I wanted to know is, I was actually amazed to see the content model structure and the different use of infographics and the videos that you have used in the document. I just want to know whether you have a separate illustration piece which does the infographics for you, or the writers you use?
It's all us.
Okay.
So we are a team of 6 writers at Gigamon now.
Okay, Swarna, give me the mic.
So yeah, as I was saying, it's all us. Whatever you've seen, this is done by our team. So there's no separate illustration or nothing. So we're a team of 6 writers at Gigamon now. So all this work from scratch, we did it ourselves.
Can you tell me which tool do you use for prompting? So it allows you to add all these infographics, right? Or the videos also?
Yes.
Okay, videos you get from the engineering team?
So again, I don't remember correctly, but someone was highlighting this part about using UI stuff, right? So what we do at Gigamon, we don't just depend on engineering team. We have our own setup. We do the
Test bed.
yes, we have our own setup. We have our own test bed. We do it from scratch. Before each and every goal, we put in configuration on any sort of steps, right? We do it, implement it, and then after that only it goes in our documentation.
Okay. So does it take a lot of time for CMS to render the output? Because you use a lot of infographics and videos. So rendering the output, is it time consuming or?
I can give the credit to the tool also here. So we use MindCap Flare in our company. So it has various options. It is very beautiful actually. So a bit of credit should go to the tool also.
Yeah, I think you can take more questions during lunchtime, because I think you need to you have so many questions, right? So regarding the tool also. No more questions? Everybody hungry?
So thank you for this opportunity.